What's up everyone? In this video I will be going over how I set up Gridline. Up to this point I've already linked the architectural Revit file, set up plan views, and set up some sheets. If you want to see how I've done all that magic, check out the links in the description below. The grid lines that are currently shown on the plan views are from the linked architectural Revit model. When I adjusted the visibility graphics of the linked model, I left the visibility of the grid lines on so that I could use them as a reference. I want to copy the grid lines from the linked Revit model over to my structural project. To do that, I go over to the Collaborate tab, drop down the Copy Monitor option, and click on Select Link. After I select the linked Revit model, the Copy Monitor options become available on the ribbon. I want to copy elements from the linked Revit model, so I select the Copy option. I also want to check the multiple checkbox on the status bar. I am going to drag a window from the bottom right hand side up to the upper left hand side to select all of the visible elements from the linked model. Then I'm going to hit the filter selection on the status bar. This window shows all of the selected items from the linked model. I only want the grids item selected. Then I hit the finish button on the status bar. After the grid lines have been copied over, I get this warning window from Revit letting me know that a grid is slightly off axis and may cause some issues. Revit highlights the grid line with an orange color for each warning. These warnings don't happen all the time, but if they do, it's good to take note and address these items before they cause an issue later on in your project. Now that the grid lines have been copied over, I go over to the ribbon and hit the Finish option. When you use Copy Monitor to copy elements, Revit automatically monitors the relationship between the elements. This icon here is what indicates that the elements are being monitored. I want the grid lines to be monitored. That way if the architect moves a grid line or changes a grid name, Revit will let me know with a coordination monitor alert. The same will occur if I change the location of a grid line or change the name of a grid. Now I am going to clean up the appearance of the grid lines. I want the grid bubbles to show on both ends of each of the grid lines. There are a couple ways to do this. I can select the grid line and hit the little checkbox that appears. The downside to this option is that I will have to do this for each grid line that I want to see a bubble on. To me, that's a bit time consuming, so a faster way is by editing the grid properties. I select the grid line and go over to the properties window and hit Edit Type. In the type properties, I check the plan view symbol's end, and now all of the grid lines have a bubble on each end. Next, I'm going to fix the erroneous grid lines that were copied over. I'm going to fix the horizontal grid lines first. To find out which grid lines have warnings, I drag a window across the grid lines and hit the Show Related Warnings option on the ribbon. This shows me the grid lines that can cause potential problems. I want to delete these grid lines, so I expand the warnings out, hit the checkbox, and hit the Delete check. Because the grid lines were being monitored, I get this Coordination Monitor alert. Now I am going to create new grid lines to replace the deleted grid lines. To do that, I go to the Structure tab and hit the Grid option, and draw out the grid line in place. I want this grid line to be monitored with the linked model grid line, just like the other grid lines. To do that, I go to the Collaborate tab, Copy Monitor, and select Link. I select the linked model to enter the command, and instead of selecting the Copy option, I select the Monitor option. I first select the grid line I created, then I select the grid line from the linked model. I see the monitor icon appear, and I hit the Finish button. I am going to copy this grid line down to where the other grid line was deleted at grid line 6. I select the grid line and hit the Copy option from the ribbon and copy it down. And I'm going to repeat the same monitoring process. I fixed the horizontal grid lines, and now I'm going to repeat the same process to fix the vertical grid lines. Now I want to check out these diagonal grid lines. When I select one and zoom extends, I see that the grid points are extended out pretty far, and it looks like it's the same issue for this other diagonal grid line. Instead of spending time and trying to fix the issues, I'm just going to delete them and create new ones. Alright, I've got all my erroneous grid lines eliminated. Next, I want to align all of my grid bubbles together. This will lock them in place with each other. The only way to do this is by dragging each grip of the grid line till it snaps to the alignment point. And unfortunately, I have to do this for each individual grid. Now I want to eliminate the second grid bubble on some of the grid lines. I select the grid line and uncheck the checkbox for each grid line I want to eliminate the bubble from. I want to shorten up this grid line. To shorten this grid line, I have to unlock it from the other grid line's alignment. To do that, I hit this lock icon to toggle the unlock. Now I can drag this end independently from the other grid lines. Next, I want to adjust the grid lines so the grid bubbles don't run into each other. To do that, I select the grid line and hit this break icon. That creates a bend in the grid line that I can adjust with the grip points. I do that for all of the other grid bubbles to kind of match the linked architectural model. When I check out my other plan views, I see that the grid lines appear, but the adjustments I made to their appearance didn't carry over. The grid line's location and name are linked across all views, but the appearance adjustments are not linked. So the appearance adjustments that are made on one view do not update on other views automatically. If I want the appearance adjustments I've made to carry over to my other plan views, I have to propagate the grid line's extends. To do that, I select the grid line that I want to propagate across views. In this case, it's all of them. I right-click on the grid line and select all instances visible in view. Then I go to the Propagate Extends option on the ribbon. On this window, I select the views I want to duplicate the adjustments over to. I want to duplicate the adjustments over to all of my views here. And when I check out the other views, it looks like everything has carried over. I don't want the grid lines from the linked Revit model to show up in my plan views anymore, so I'm going to turn off the grid lines using the visibility graphics. And that's going to wrap this video up. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share.